Welcome to Please Me, the award-winning bilingual podcast bringing you bold conversations and big clit energy. I'm Eve, your host, on a journey from trauma to sexual liberation. Join me and my guests as we dive into conversations around orgasm equality, self-love, body positivity, and essential sexual education. Let's reclaim pleasure and close the orgasm gap, one empowering conversation at a time. Last week I had Fanny Tristan on the show, and she talked about the art of a happy hoe season and what I like to call getting on the road to sexual liberation. We had such a great conversation about all the systems that hold us back as single women, and we talked about embracing our power and owning our desire. Go back and check out this informative episode and our thought-provoking role play. I'm so thrilled and honored to be nominated for 3 fan favorite awards for the ASN Awards and Latin Podcasting Awards. I'm nominated as Best Educator and Best Educator Website, as well as Favorite Podcast. Please see the show notes to cast your daily vote. I love and appreciate every one of you for your support. Did you know that podcasts rely on listener support to keep bringing you the content you love? For the best way to support the show, join me on Patreon for ad-free listening, early releases, bonus episodes, and exclusive content. Please Me is for mature audiences. Sit back, relax, and surrender to the pleasure of Please Me.
For me, my message is relatively straightforward, and that is I'm a man and I'm gay. And that's really it. It's the fact that being gay doesn't really subtract from your masculinity.
ASN Lifestyle Magazine is your go-to source for sex-positive, sophisticated content covering everything from the swinger lifestyle and adult entertainment to intimacy, wellness, and more. You can read every digital issue for free, and subscribers get access to exclusive content. See the show notes for the link to subscribe and check out their Instagram. I'm excited to share that I now have a monthly column in ASN called Big Clit Energy, a Please Me series. Don't miss it and subscribe today.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. 3 couples, 4 vacations, a lot to unpack. Watch The 4 Seasons, a new series starring comedy favorites Tina Fey, Steve Carell, Will Forte, Coleman Domingo, and more in a hilarious and heartfelt love letter to long-term relationships. Based on the original Alan Alda film. Watch The 4 Seasons, May 1st, only on Netflix.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Not everyone is careful with your personal information, which might explain why there's a victim of identity theft every 5 seconds in the U.S. Fortunately, there's LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity. If your identity is stolen, a U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year by visiting LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Hey guys, back at the playground again, huh?
Yep. You know what this playground could use? A wine country.
Heck yeah, and some waves so we could go surfing.
Oh, yeah.
Love that.
A redwood forest would be cool.
I'm in.
Ski slopes.
Let's do it.
Can a girl go shopping?
Yeah, baby.
Wait! Did we just invent California?
Discover why California is the ultimate playground at visitcalifornia.com.
Hey all, I'm Jamie Lynn Sigler, a mom, actor, and advocate. I know how overwhelming it can be trying to decide which treatment is right for you. I've been there. But you should know you're not alone. You can do this. Start with some research, talk to the community, and most importantly, don't be afraid to ask your doctor questions. You might find results that speak for themselves. That's how I landed on Kesimpta. Ask your doctor if Kesimpta, ofatumumab, could be right for you. You can check out the details at kesimpta.com.
Acura's all-new ADX, a compact SUV that isn't just built for one thing. It's precision-crafted for everything. To escape the grind with available all-wheel drive. To go with your flow with available Google built-in.
Hey Google, turn it up.
Okay, turning up the volume. And crafted to be heard with an available Bang & Olufsen premium sound system. The all-new Acura ADX, crafted to match your energy. Acura, precision-crafted performance.
Take your vibes and go, 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 go.
Google is a trademark of Google LLC.
Hello, and welcome to Please Me, the podcast that aims to destigmatize conversations about sex and sexual health by turning the sheets into our classroom. I am so super excited to welcome Koby Falks to the show today. He is an adult content creator, an entrepreneur, and an advocate for authenticity in the legal sex work industry. In his words, his story is not just about sex, it's about confidence, self-expression, and redefining masculinity in an LGBTQ context. And so with that, I want to welcome you to the show, Koby. How are you today?
Good morning. How are you doing? I'm good. Bit early here, so.
Yeah, so you're joining me from Australia, which I think is so amazing that in podcasting, we can reach like the entire world at the same time. But when it comes to interviewing, it becomes a little complicated. So I appreciate you getting up so early to speak with me today.
It's not a problem. Yeah, it's a little bit dark. I've got my coffee and ready to go.
Excellent. If you could believe it, it is 3 p.m. here in Florida, and I'm still drinking my coffee from this morning because I just get busy and forget that I am supposed to be drinking it. So
it's 5 a.m. here. I'm in Melbourne, and Melbourne is the coffee capital. I think this will be my first of 6 for the day.
Oh, wow. You drink a lot of coffee. That is incredible. I usually don't drink it this late. I love coffee too. I can't live without it. I've gone through several bouts of like eliminating coffee from my diet, and I always go back to it because it's just a cup of happiness in the morning. I just can't define it any other way.
100%.
So let's talk about masculinity and how the concept has been shifting, I think, for quite some time. And the words that come to mind for me are things like men plucking their eyebrows or waxing or even like manscaping, right? Which I feel like even in the heterosexual world has become expected that a man will manscape down there before any sexual activity occurs. So I'm just curious to know what your take on masculinity is.
Yeah, it's quite simple for me, really. And I'm from a LGBTQ perspective, I guess. For me, my message is relatively straightforward, and that is I'm a man and I'm gay. And that's really it. It's the fact that being gay doesn't really subtract from your masculinity. Growing up, obviously, I was closeted. I grew up in outback Queensland. I moved to farming land, Tasmania. So for your audience in the US, it's a bit like growing up in rural Texas and then moving to the Midwest. Not particularly the most gay-friendly of places. And we were basically told, or I was, that if you were gay, you weren't a man growing up. You were feminine, or you were a ladyboy, or you were a faggot. That was the words you would get called. But yeah, I'm here to say now that, I am a man, I am gay, and that doesn't actually subtract from who I am. So it really is that simple.
Yes, and like I said before, the concept of manscaping or even like the idea of someone being like quote unquote metrosexual, right? Where the heterosexual man enjoys like things that were deemed feminine before, plucking and taking care of their skin and all of those things. These things are just things that we do to take care of ourselves. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you're a woman or a man. And I love that definition because it's very straightforward. You're a man, you're gay. That doesn't take away from your masculinity. There is all ranges in the gay community, from masculine to feminine, and everything's in between, just like there is in every other community. I love that definition.
Yeah, manscaping is no different to me putting ink on my arm. It's something that you do to enhance your aesthetic. It's not necessarily defining your gender or your sexual identity.
Exactly. And from a hetero perspective, as a woman, with being with a partner who does manscape, it's highly appreciated. In my talks with other adult content creators, we talked about the misconception that all sex workers come from a place of trauma or of being exploited. And in their experience, and I've talked to a couple of female adult content creators, you're actually the first male adult content creator that I've spoken to on my show thus far. They've felt empowerment in their work. And so I would love to hear your take on what the positive aspects of your business have been for you.
Yeah, look, definitely there is truth in what you say about exploitation. Traditionally, I think the most vulnerable, it is very easy to be exploited in the sex industry, and that absolutely did happen and probably still happens today. And really, you need to look back, even 10 years ago, majority of adult content was produced by studios, and so they had very tight control over a lot of things, from the people that they cast, the types of roles that you would get, the look, and then even then the way that people were paid or the money that was offered. They were able to exploit people in that system because they were the ones that had control. For me, I never really worked in the studio system. I've only been doing content for 5 years. But I've obviously worked with people who have been in that studio system, and they've had very negative feelings or very negative memories of being exploited in the years that they were professional porn stars in that sense. But for me, I've had very positive experiences. And I think that's because, like a lot of people now, with the release of OnlyFans, it really has taken away the control from the studio system, put it into the hands of the creator or the sex worker now. I'm now responsible for booking my own collabs, filming my own scenes, controlling my own content, which means that I have the power to be able to say yes, and I also have the power to be able to say no. And so I think that is a really positive thing that's come out of it, that people can now actually command what it is that they deserve, and they know they're not being exploited by a corporation, essentially.
Definitely. That does change the game a lot, because when you're trying, and it's like the whole TikTok thing, right?
Yeah.
Where you're being controlled by even though you have your business that can be thriving, you're being controlled by like an outside force. And this sort of puts the power in your own hands, which allows you to have more creative freedom and just more control of your money, which I think is so important, especially.
I think too, one of the biggest things is that you are able to be your authentic self too, and put forward a brand that you align with, as opposed to trying to fit into a stereotype that the studios used to typecast you for. So when I started, I was like what is known in the gay community as a bear. So it's someone who's a bloke who's a bit chubbier and hairier, more rugged, rather than, whereas I would never get cast in a studio system looking like that. You would have to be a particular way. And so I was able to put myself out there as myself and find an audience and make an income without having to change essentially who I am to fit a mold.
That's a great point, and something that we really hadn't even touched upon before. I had never heard of that concept of being a bear, but I happened to have one as a boyfriend. And he's straight, but he's very hairy. And so I understand that there's certain looks that originally in porn they were looking for, and that was maybe not what they were looking for, but now you can be you are.
And some of the most successful creators are BBWs, and that would never have fallen back then in the studio era.
Absolutely. And by BBW, just define that, just because not everybody's going to know what that means.
BBW, big, beautiful woman. And one that comes to mind is Gwyneth Laura. I met her a few years ago at the Pornhub Awards in LA. And she is a very successful creator on Pornhub. And she's got a platform, and she has thousands of followers who admire her for who she is. She's a big, beautiful woman. She's got a lovely personality. And unfortunately, take it back 10 years ago, she would have been turned away from the studio system. Any producer would have looked at her and laughed because she didn't fit that stereotype. But she's carved out a huge slice of the market. It has adoration from everywhere, and it's doing really well. Just being yourself.
Yes, I love that example, because everybody deserves love and everybody deserves pleasure, whether you're big, small, or everything in between, or hairless or hairy or everything in between, right? And I appreciate you bringing that up too, because you're absolutely right. When being cast for things like this, there was always a type, right? And even so now, like when you look at porn, a lot of the women are really tiny. Of course, there's literally everything that you can find, but still a lot of the women are tiny. A lot of times they've had enhancements to their body that are not realistic in the real world. And so people are putting their not feeling good about themselves because they don't fit the mold, right? And they don't fit what they're seeing. But now you can really see all ranges, which I think is really helpful in changing that, because beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And some people are going to love a BBW and some people are going to not love a BBW, but there is an option to be able to see that, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and it goes even further where as a woman going into a scene, you would have been probably very submissive, just used by guys. And so even those gender roles were very clearly defined in pornography, whereas now you see a lot of people talk about empowerment, and that's because they have the power now to direct their own scenes. They're doing things that they want to do, that they feel comfortable in, that empowers them. And as we all know, like you look at me, I'm a pretty big guy. I work out. Bit jacked, I drive a truck, and I'm a complete submissive bottom. You wouldn't think of me as a dominant alpha top, and that would be what the expectation is of someone that looks like me, but I'm completely the opposite in sex. And so in my scenes, I do what I enjoy, and people enjoy seeing someone like me taking it off the ass and being completely submissive. So it's just going against the type.
I love that you mentioned that, because I didn't realize that you were generally a bottom most of the time.
Yes.
Hey all, I'm Jamie Lynn Sigler, a mom, actor, and advocate. I know how overwhelming it can be trying to decide which treatment is right for you. I've been there. But you should know you're not alone. You can do this. Start with some research, talk to the community, and most importantly, don't be afraid to ask your doctor questions. You might find results that speak for themselves. That's how I landed on Kesimpta. Ask your doctor if Kesimpta, ofatumumab, could be right for you. You can check out the details at kesimpta.com.
This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet injuries and additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
This Mother's Day, give mom more than a gift. Give her lasting comfort. I'm Tyler, founder at Cozy Earth. Our bamboo sheets and ultra soft pajamas are crafted with breathable, temperature-regulating fabric to keep her cozy year-round. It's comfort that feels like home, because home feels like mom. With a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty, you know she'll be in good hands.
Go to CozyEarth.com/Spotify and use code Spotify to save up to 40%. That's CozyEarth.com/Spotify.
When you think about your future, you know what calls to you. Meaningful work, happiness, growth, and sharing these values with others. But how will you find all of that? There are many paths forward, including one you may not have considered. The military provides countless opportunities to pursue your calling, where you can be part of something bigger than yourself, while still being yourself and having the future you want. You have a calling, we have an answer. Learn more at todaysmilitary.com.
So we talked a little bit before on our pre-call about you performing at like different sex parties and then you filming with various different content creators for your OnlyFans account. And sometimes you'll do 5 scenes in a row, which requires a very long lasting erection. And so I wanted to ask you about how you prepare for something like that.
Yeah, like for us, I'm based in Melbourne, which is in Australia. I think to get to LA, you're looking like 13, 14-hour flight, possibly longer. Melbourne is not a place that creators stop over. So LA is a place you would stop over. So for me and my business partner, Sam Brownell, we shoot a lot of our collabs overseas. So when we travel to places like Barcelona or Los Angeles, we want to get the most bang for our buck because we're spending a lot to get there. And we want to get through creators in a certain amount of time. So yeah, we could film anywhere from, usually we'll try and book 2 or 3 scenes a day, up to, we've done 5 in rare occasions. And that is not just on over one day, that may be over a week. So you're looking at like 20, 25 scenes in a week. So you think, how the fuck do you maintain an erection for every scene for 25 scenes over a week? Like, obviously, I've used Viagra, I've used Cialis before, and Camagra, and look, they're fine for the odd scene during the day. But something that's really come out of in the market in the last few years, and it's particularly present also not just in the adult entertainment community, but within the gay community too, recreationally, is actually an injectable erectile dysfunction medication called Trimix. So Trimix is, so there's actually 3. There's Bimix, Trimix, Quadmix. The Trimix is the most popular. It's basically, I think it's 3. It's a prescription, obviously. You got to get it from your GP. But yeah, there are other things on the market similar to it. I think it's called Cavaject as well, but Trimix is a lot cheaper. Comes in a vial. You use a few units. You inject it straight into the penis. And unlike Viagra or Cialis, which kind of lowers your blood pressure and you have to be aroused and it assists the erection, this literally just goes into the muscle of the penis and hardens it and pumps the blood through. So all of a sudden, within 5 minutes, you have a full-on hard erection like I'm 40. The first time I used it, I felt like I had a hard dick of a 21-year-old again. And that will last for hours. It could last anywhere up to 6 hours. When you're talking about shooting multiple scenes a day, you inject that and you're hard and you're ready to go. And that's whether you're aroused or not, because it's literally just a chemical reaction with the muscle.
So I'm curious, have you ever had an experience? Because I know that if you use Trimix and your erection doesn't go away within a certain period of time, you might need some other medication to help you so that you don't have necrosis or have issues with penis tissue becoming necrotic or whatever. So can you just tell me if you've ever had any bad experiences and what would you do in that case?
So to talk a little bit further to your audience, essentially what the risk is that obviously once the blood flow is in the penis and it's hard, the blood flow stops and your cells do need oxygen by blood flow, obviously, to survive. It's not exactly on 6 hours. I don't know exactly what it is. It's probably more like 12, 15, but the medical thing recommends 6. Once you hit that 6 hour mark, because the blood flow isn't getting to the penis, it means that you're not getting that oxygen to the cells. So it's important to start bringing the penis down so that it can start to get that flow of blood and flow of oxygen again. Necrosis is where the cells start to die because they're not getting that oxygen. And once the cells are dead, there's nothing you can do to bring them back. So there's a couple of ways, and it hasn't actually happened to me, but it's happened to people I know. So yes, there is an antidote. The antidote is basically pseudoephedrine. So you can get that in oral form, which I always have on standby, but you can also get it as an injectable as well. And so that also is just an injection straight into the dick. For me, that has worked always when I wanted to bring it down straight away. And I never inject myself unless I've got that antidote on hand. It can, however, not work the first few times. And so it's just an injection every 15 minutes. I did have a friend who had Trimix and his dick didn't go down after about 8 hours. Okay. He didn't have the antidote. So he didn't know. And I think he fucked up his dose and went too much, because you only need, for the Trimix, very small. Like I'm talking, if you've got a 1 mil insulin needle, like 1/10 or less of a dose. It's a very small injection. And so it can be quite easy to inject, especially if you're using it recreationally and you're at parties or something. You're not always coherent. It took him up to about 8 injections to bring it down. So I sat there with him just jamming his dick every 15 minutes. It was a very good bonding experience. We put on a TV show and I've set my timer and I was like, first one, second one, and then it started to just get a little bit softer. I was like, make sure we bring it down. Because the other way is you go to emergency, and what they will literally do is they'll get two like 19 gauge needles, or probably 17. quite big ones, and they'll just stick them in your dick and start drawing blood. And it's pretty painful, I've heard. Hasn't happened to me or anyone I know, but yeah, they'll literally just start to drain the blood out to bring it down. And that is not something you want to go through. So.
That's definitely not ideal. And so I could see that the injections would be something that you would want to have on hand in case. And if you are and if you are out there and you're listening to this show and you have used Trimix, you should always have that antidote on hand just in case, because you really don't know, what your body is going to do, how it's going to react. And nobody wants to end up in an emergency room after partying it up all night. And I will say that I have heard of Trimix being used in the swinger scene as well, because when you are in a swingers party, you don't want the pressure of have that performance anxiety. So I have heard that it's used in that community as well.
Yeah, and like you just touched on a point there. It's like it takes away that anxiety. When I'm filming a scene on set, for example, I'm not just hooking up with someone. We're on a schedule. You've got someone else texting you who's coming. You've got a producer there or the cameraman there filming. You stop starting. So if I didn't have that Trimix with me, you'd be in the zone. Sure enough, you could be hard, but then you're coming out of it and going soft, and then you've got to try and get hard again. And then it gets into that negative feedback cycle where you're like, oh, I can't get hard now. And people are waiting and what's going, and then you just it's never going to happen because you're not aroused. But the Trimix definitely takes away that anxiety, so then I can just focus right on the scene without having to worry about am I hard or soft.
So I'm curious, because I know you haven't been in this industry forever, right? Just only in the last 6 years, you said, right? So
yeah, for 5 years.
5 years, 5 years. Okay.
Yeah.
So 5 years. And for 35 years, because you said you were 40, right? You were not in this industry. And I'm just curious, has being in this industry helped to bring you more pleasure in your own personal life? Have you seen any changes in your own personal sexual experiences at all?
So much.
Okay.
I mean, look,
I would love to hear about that.
Before I even started as a sex worker, I never had a negative view of sex work, but it was something that was always removed from me. And I probably do have assumptions that weren't always the most positive about sex work and about sex workers, because you do hear a lot of negative things, or the people that you meet and that may not always have the best experiences, or be at a point in life where they do have that control or empowerment. So for me, starting as a sex worker suddenly introduced me to other sex workers and porn stars and people in the industry. You learn very quickly that a lot of these people are just normal people, quotation marks, normal. Whereas before that, there was a lot of slut shaming, there was a lot of stigma, and there still is around sex workers in the sex industry. But look, in terms of why people go into it, some of the most successful porn stars I know are also the best business people I know. And for me, I now run my own company, producing my own content. So that's one thing where I started without having a company. I'm now a company director, and I've learned everything about business from people. I've learned everything from marketing, finance, accounting, all of these things, networking, even in terms of just how to interact now in podcasts and stuff. I'd never have been comfortable to sit down and talk so openly as I do now about something that has been so intimate and traditionally like I've kept in the bedroom. All of these tools and things that have come about for me through doing our content. For me, sexually, it's obviously also introduced me to a lot of the experiences in kinks. I was probably, being a gay man, we are a lot more, I guess, sexually liberated. And that's because obviously the way that we have to engage with sex is very different to a heteronormative way. Sex is a lot more accessible for us, and we have specific spaces, or we have cruising grounds, public spaces to meet up with other guys. And even the sex acts themselves are not traditionally, we're fucking in the ass, we're doing all sorts of things because we've got different equipment. But for me as well, just obviously getting used to that getting used to sex, I've started to now explore further things and further kinks. And that's been really interesting for me. I've always been gay, and now I've worked with trans creators, moving, considering straight for pay, just to push my limits because I'm comfortable now in what I can do and what works for me. Is, I've done stuff that I thought I might not have liked and I've ended up liking it. Why not now start to try some other things? Yeah, it's been a big journey.
I think it's interesting that you say that, because I often say that about my podcast, that it's been the healing journey that I was not expecting. And so it's interesting that you two have expanded your horizons in terms of what you consider sex now. And I think that's super interesting. And the fact that you like things that you didn't think that you liked before. And you mentioned that you are more of a submissive, and in a heteronormative relationship, the woman is typically more submissive, but there's plenty of women out there that like to be dominant too, right? And so just playing with those roles, I think, is really cool. And I'm just curious to know, because inquiring minds want to know, right? What kinks have you decided that are like things that you like that you didn't think that you would like before?
Yeah, one of the things obviously is I love being passed around a group of guys. Being submissive now, like I just love having a group of guys being around me and just using me, which before sex-wise I may have had the odd threesome or something. Being in my relationships now, I love group sex and I love being the center of attention. And I love being used by all the guys. Basically being a condom is what we call it. Taking on that role, I guess, like a gangbang, like being the central thing. The other thing I absolutely love now is basically putting on a performance in sex, having other people view. For me, sex was always hidden and secretive because it was something I couldn't explore in high school. I couldn't get a girlfriend because I was gay. We didn't explore that in the bedroom. I had to hide my sexual upbringing by going to beats or meeting guys at a remote spot and being hidden all the time. Now I do live sex shows on stage, or like I'll walk into a bar in Berlin and there'll be a few guys that want to ram me and I'll just bend over on the bar and anyone can see. But the fact that I now have the confidence to do that, and I enjoy that as well. I like let's just go for it here kind of thing. Who cares if anyone sees? They can have a good time watching. And I guess for me, it's the complete opposite of what I experienced growing up, where sex was this shameful, secretive thing that I was doing that was wrong, to now, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to own what I do. I'm just going to be out there, be myself. I'm going to do what I enjoy, and I'm not going to be ashamed if other people see me doing it now.
There were just too many juicy questions for Koby. We had to turn this into a 2-part series. Be sure to tune in next week for even more insights, surprises, and a super fun role play you won't want to miss. Can't wait? Get early access and listen ad-free this Monday on Patreon. It's the perfect place for early releases and exclusive content, so join today. During COVID, I gave up 3 things. 1 was not wearing makeup every day. Another thing was that I stopped working for other people. And so hence my podcast and hence my private practice, Inspire Health Physical Therapy. And the 3rd thing I gave up during COVID was wearing a bra. Cakes is an incredible product that I've been using so that I don't have to wear a bra all the time, but I can look like I have a bra on. And what it does is it just covers up the little nipple show that you have going through your clothes, and it allows your clothes to fit you seamlessly and smoothly. And it is a beautiful product, and they are so much more comfortable to wear. It's so important to give your body time without a bra, because just like any other brace, if you're wearing an ankle brace or a knee brace and you wear it all the time, it's going to cause atrophy around that joint. And the same goes for a bra. If you're wearing a bra all the time, it's going to also cause weakness in your pectoralis muscles. And the pectoralis muscles are the muscles that help you to lift your breasts. And if they get weak, your breasts will sag. So wearing cakes is really great for decreasing sagging. So I just wanted to come on here and tell you to get your cakes. And I wanted to share mine with you. Today I have the triangle ones on, and I'm going to show you how easy they are. They adhere without adhesive to the skin naturally. And you can see they come in different colors. So make sure you check out the link below and get your cakes today.